Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Mill. I'm your host and founder of Mill & Co., Rachel Ballatori. With me today is Lisa Keslar. So excited to have Lisa. I've known her for probably a little over a year at this point, Lisa. Feels like it's been yesterday and also a lifetime, which I think is a good thing. A little bit about Lisa. Her pronouns are she, her, and hers. As a seasoned business professional, she brings extensive experience in marketing, human resources, and executive leadership. With a long startup career spanning diverse industries such as tech, medical, fashion, and insurance, she has successfully led product brand launches, managed marketing departments, and worked in human resources, operations, finance, and sales. A real underachiever she is. Currently serving as a licensed P&C agent and co-owner of Keslar Insurance, Lisa is deeply committed to supporting small businesses. Her dedication to business education has extended into teaching entrepreneurship and strategy at UNH's Peter T. Paul College. She's the co-chapter leader for Women's Business League, Dover, New Hampshire, the organization's largest chapter. Additionally, Lisa co-founded Cheers for Charity New Hampshire, an initiative celebrating local nonprofits, showcasing her strong commitment to community engagement. Lisa, it's a true honor to have you here today.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Rachel.
Of course. So just to start, can you give us a brief intro to Keslar Insurance?
Sure. So we're a local independent agency. We have two offices in New Hampshire, so one in Newmarket and one in Rochester. We have clients all over New Hampshire, all over Maine, and all over Mass. We have an incredible team. And the reason why we're in business is that we're really about supporting community and those people in it. We've learned that people don't really love that dealing with their insurance, but it's a really important part of managing risk, right? And managing personal risk and professional risk. So we work with business owners and we work with home and car owners to sort of manage those risks and make it as easy as possible to do so. And we have an incredible team that does that. So it went from something that I was like, oh my God, are you kidding, insurance, to like, oh my God, we're actually helping people. And that's really about something that I think is really important, is everything that I want to do is surrounded around the concept of creating value for others.
Yeah. And security. I mean, to me, that's what insurance means, is like setting yourself up for success and safety. I'm curious, way back when, what sparked the initial idea to find and start Keslar Insurance?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'll give all that the credit for the insurance side to my husband. He came from working in tech sales and was traveling all over the place and was missing our children growing up and that kind of thing, and said, I really want to do I love sales. I love providing value to others, but I want to be part of our community. And this made a ton of sense.
Mm.
And then I joined him shortly after. I was working in a tech startup, and I loved the idea of building something, building a culture, building a community.
Yeah, that's amazing. How's
Yeah,
working together?
fantastic. We're really good at distinguishing what I do versus what he does, and we both really respect what each other's strengths.
Yeah.
So it's really nice that I'm managing sort of the marketing, the biz dev side, and a lot of respects, the HR, the things I've done a million times. And then he's really, really great with product and managing and really, managing the team. So that's a really nice balance.
That is a nice balance. I know that can be really challenging. And I also imagine, when 5 o'clock hits and you turn in to, end your work day, does the work day really ever end if you're kind of living
No,
in it?
no. Well, you're an entrepreneur, so your day doesn't end anyway. And then
Yeah.
you always have someone you can talk to about your work
Yeah.
24/7. So you can
Yeah.
be like, hey, you get out of the shower and you're like, I had an idea.
Yeah.
You carry the dog food in and you're like, hey, I just thought of something. Or you see a
Yeah.
TV commercial or an ad and you're like, oh, that makes me think we should do this, right? So yeah, it doesn't end.
It's so funny. So my husband owns Bellman Jewelers. I own Mill & Co. We aren't currently working together, but we experience a lot of the same challenges, barriers, successes, and opportunities. And it's been so amazing having each other to
Mhm.
continue that conversation. And it has not, I think it's the entrepreneurs in us, Lisa, but that has not felt like a burnout moment to just keep talking about the business. And particularly for me, it's fun because I'm getting a whole new perspective of brick and mortar retail luxury goods, which is very different from what we do in terms of remote digital strategy marketing, et cetera.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful to get those other perspectives, and the fact that you're able to have someone free in your back pocket, right? Who's your supporter and your consultant who wants nothing but the best for you.
Yeah.
I think all entrepreneurs really need that, right? And whether it's a loved one in your life, a family member, a friend, other business owners, I think that whole mentoring and that whole sense of community is exceptionally important, especially I think for women business owners. I think we do a lot to ourselves
Hmm.
around imposter syndrome and setting our goals lower than we should, and like being overwhelmed because we're taking on so much mental burden, right, of all parts of our lives. I think, it's really important that we have those opportunities to sort of share, vent, walk through concepts. I think that's really powerful.
It's like you're speaking to my soul. Imposter syndrome has been like one of the hardest things I've had to overcome, particularly when I started my business. I was 26 years old. And I remember
Mhm.
someone saying to me, "How old are you?" And I was like, "Does that matter?" I've had someone else, I know I've shared this on previous podcast episodes, say, "You don't have a master's degree?" And I'm like, and so then, of course, in the moment, I'm immediately shutting it down, overcoming it with experience, wit, humor, and a good personality. But that eats at us. And I am sad to know that like I'm not the only CEO or woman in power that has come into face to face with people that say stuff like that.
All the time, right? And I talk to a lot of different entrepreneurs and different CEOs and high level executives, and we're all dealing with the same issues. And the women at least will admit it if you get them in a safe space.
Yeah.
I think men maybe have some of these, but men also have been raised to. I see a lot more of, it's the statistics, right? Like if a man looks at a job and says, "I make half of those responsibilities and skill sets, I'll apply," and women are like, "Well, I only make 98% of the requirements. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't apply." Right? Like
Yeah.
I don't know why that's part of our culture, but it is,
Mm.
and so it's all the more reason why you need people in your corner going, "Yeah, do it, go for it, try it. Like I got you. You got this." Right? Like I think
100%.
it's so
Yeah.
important.
It's so important. And every entrepreneurial journey has twists and turns.
Yes.
I know I've gone through many of them. I'd love if you could share an experience where you took on an unexpected opportunity and it worked out in ways that you just did not at all see coming.
Oh my gosh. Let's use the insurance company, right? So, when at the time I was doing marketing for a tech startup, that's sort of been my background, right? And David's like, "Listen, your commute's far. It's a tough quality of life for a family. Why don't you join the agency?" And I was like, "Ugh, insurance, really? Like, I just don't see that." And then he's like, "Listen, do the things you love to do in the agency. You can do all the internal stuff. You can write policies, you can do your customer service, so you can build a customer service team, you can build a sales team, you can do the operations, all the stuff I had done before." And I was like, "Okay, let's try that." So I had to learn insurance, which was fine. And then so it's the two of us alone, no income, no customers, starting from scratch. And we had no idea, thank gosh, how few scratch agencies succeed. Thank God no
Mm.
one told us the statistics because they're really scary. And one day the phone rings, and my husband, who's very extroverted, very gregarious, was on his way out to a ribbon cutting for the chamber, right? Getting our connections out there. And it's a client who wants some crazy coverage. And
Mm.
I was like, I don't even know what they're talking about. And my husband was saying, like, "Listen, I can do this policy in 15 minutes, or you're going to take 3 hours calling underwriters. Why don't you go to the networking event?"
Mm.
And I was like, "Ugh, introvert by nature." I was like, "Oh, I just don't see that." So I go to the networking event. I do what everyone talks about, like what everyone can envision, right? You walk in, nobody in the room. You walk back to the food table because what else is there to do when no one talks to you? Eat your carrot stick, hope someone will come over. No one came over in a room full of people. I walked out to my car. I said, "I'm never freaking doing this again. I'm never networking. I hate it." I cried. Oh, 3 days later, the exact same situation happened. My husband's putting on the coat to go to the after hours. A client calls. He's like, "This means dinner to us. Like, if we can get a client, we eat tonight." Like, I mean, we had some money to fund our business, but we needed to generate income.
Mm.
And he's like, "You're going to have to figure it out." And I did, and I'm so grateful I did, because now I have the opportunity to be in these networking groups and be connected with these incredible people, and the value in my life
Mm.
of these connections and these networks and these contributions at these incredible, powerful, not just in terms of like what was perceived to be powerful, but powerful in terms of strong heart, convicted, motivated, inspiring people that have come into my life have changed my world.
Yeah.
And that would never have happened if I hadn't been pushed out of my comfort zone.
And what's crazy to me, Lisa, is I only met you a little over a year ago. I would have never known that you are a natural introvert.
Mhm.
And the way that you like immediately bring people together and say, Rachel, you need to meet Amber and they need to meet Nicole and you all need to get together because here's what you all bring to the table. To me, that's a level up of networking. Like you can go network for yourself.
Mhm.
Anyone can do that, right? You can go to the grocery store and make connections, but to then take it a step further and have the forethought of you all should meet. Personally, I've been on the receiving end of that with you. I think that's one of your greatest assets.
Thank you. I'll be honest, that's how, when I had sat down and said, I have to figure this out, that's what I realized
Mm.
is I don't network to get the client. Yes, I get clients, and yes, we're thrilled to have them and we're grateful and we appreciate them. But I realize that if I could create additional value, that lights me up. So if
100%.
I'm meeting people and I say, my goal is to meet you to figure out how I can elevate and bring you forward and whatever that is for you, I can make one little difference. Maybe it's a book suggestion. Maybe it's an introduction. Maybe it's I don't know, an article. It doesn't matter what it is, right? Um, if I can help lift someone in even the slightest ways, it comes back in droves, right? And it's really authentic to me. It feels comfortable. It feels natural. And it as soon as I realized that networking wasn't about sales, that's when it all changed for me and became something that's very, very exciting and very fun. And I get really excited and animated and light up and that's where the magic happens, right?
Yeah, that's how I have looked at networking for the last few years is I will go into a room with the intention of how much value can I provide,
Yes.
not how many business cards can I collect. And I
Right?
think that that's a big like ego shift, especially for a lot of young entrepreneurs, male, female,
Yeah.
whoever. We go in there because, of course, we want to grow our own companies. We want to be successful. Um, but the path to success has been much faster for me and for Mill& Co. by providing things first
Yep.
and sometimes for free and for a prolonged period of time and then build trust, build relationships, show value, and then it comes back tenfold. I have not made a cold call I mean, it's been probably since year one, and we're rounding, almost 7 years soon.
Awesome.
And
It's
to
it
me,
that's
that's the future,
it is. It's the now and the future. Our phones ring off the hook, and we're grateful for all of it. And
Yeah.
they do that because people, I think, sense too that our goal is just to do the right thing. And
Mhm.
whether it's your creative agency or your insurance agency or whoever, just to be on your side and do the right thing, right? So if you're doing it for them in other areas, when they need something, you're a resource. You're available. You're here. And
Yeah.
we're grateful for that opportunity each time. And I think that's a really important part too, is like it's always about sort of the appreciativeness and the gratitude and just being really, I don't know, genuine
Mhm.
about that these relationships matter. So it's not even like checking the boxes like, oh, how many people did I create value for today? It's like I met an incredible person. I want to lift them. Let's figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
And the rest just comes.
Yeah,
And
it
it's funny
does.
business for all of us. And people think that's weird too. I network with a lot of insurance agencies. People like, I've been to networking events and someone's like, oh, you can't sit there. There's another insurance agent sitting there. And I was like, oh, we're friends. It's all good. Like, we help
Yeah.
each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not competitive. It's collaborative.
It's not. And you know what? I say this to my clients all the time. Like, Mill& Co. is not the only agency that does what we do.
Mhm.
And I am not too proud of myself to think that we're just so incredibly unique. However, I'm unique. My team are unique. Our approach is unique. And so I'm very confident standing up against other agencies because I'm like, I know that we do a lot of things that at the end of the day, the deliverables look very similar, but I know that our approach is very proprietary to us. And so I actually love sitting with other agencies. 'Cause I'm like, what do y'all do? What can I learn from you? How can I help you grow? What are ways that we can collectively get clients to understand this is the way this experience should be when you're looking for things like insurance, marketing, strategy, consulting, whatever it is.
Absolutely. We refer out to other insurance agents if we know it's a benefit for clients because that client is going to be so blown away that we actually said, thank you, but no thank you. We want you to be at XYZ company
Yeah.
because we know right now they have the right product for you.
Yep.
They rant and rave about us, and they can't wait to come back, right? Like they can't
Yeah.
wait to be our client. And I think that says a lot. And I think, I'll say a lot too in networking meetings. People will say like, oh, I feel really bad, but I have an insurance agent that I work with or I love or that I refer to. And I was like, one, fabulous. Be
Yeah.
loyal to the people who are good to you.
Yep.
Stay, right? And two, if you're comfortable giving more than one name, give three. Let the client decide. I know my team all day long will follow up faster. They'll be more professional. The attention to detail will win it all day long. I'm
Mhm.
really confident that they'll work so hard because we truly want that and we really celebrate that experience.
Yep.
That if they're meant to be our clients, they'll come. And so give clients a choice. And people like, you want me to give out your competitors? And I was like, sure,
Yeah. Do it.
go ahead. Absolutely. The clients who are supposed to be ours will come.
I
And they
believe
do.
same philosophy, Lisa. We've done the same thing with clients and said, Mill and Co is not the most expensive agency out there, but we're not the least expensive. And
Mm-hmm.
so we've had some instances where we've had to, because we've been growing so much, we have to turn away some
Mm-hmm.
business. But I never turn it away without saying, here's an entire dossier of options that I think might fit within your budget. This is an internship program I've been using through UNH, SNU, BU, Johns
Mm-hmm.
Hopkins, all the universities I'm connected with. Here's some other smaller agencies. Here's some really reliable freelancers that are more cost effective. To me, that is such a moment of growth to be able to provide value even when it doesn't bring you any financial gain. And I felt so good about that. And by turning away business that frankly probably wasn't right for us, it opened us up for hordes of new business to come in that's like, yes, this is exactly what we're trying to grow into.
All day long. All day
Yeah.
long. Yeah. I totally agree with that. I
Yeah.
think that's the right mentality to have, and that's
Yeah.
why you have a strong, reputable company.
We're working on it.
Yeah,
And
you're doing great.
there's a lot of success that we could talk about all day long, but I think it's really important, and particularly as women, I don't think we share failure a lot
Mhm.
because it's seen as a negative, black market
Mhm.
word. But to me, failure is a stepping stone to growth. And so I'd love if you could share, if you're comfortable, what is a significant failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you evolve from that?
Um, yeah, I feel like it's funny because I don't dwell on failure.
Mm,
I don't think of failure as failure. I think of it as learning, right?
yeah.
So it's funny because when I was thinking of this question, I was like, oh, like I feel like it's a stepping stone, right? So if I was
Mhm.
at a company that I was part of a startup team that didn't raise enough money
Mm,
and we didn't make it. I left right before, but I knew that was coming, and it was just means that I was meant to go to the next thing, right?
yeah.
Like so, I think there's whether you didn't land a particular account, like sometimes that'll happen, and I'll say, you know what, we weren't meant to have it. Like
Mhm.
something's going to happen with that account we're going to say like, okay, there was a reason why they're not part of a client of ours right now, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's for them or for us or whatever it is. um if I get, my other side of my life is the teaching at UNH, so sometimes, when the first time I taught a class there, I had some negative reviews
Mm,
because I made all sorts of assumptions about the backgrounds that students had that they didn't have, right? I learned, right? And so to me, it was like, okay, some students love the class, and I'm kind of type A, so I want everyone to love the class. So even like one negative comment's like, oh,
yeah.
right? But it's also like, okay, that's great feedback, right?
Yeah.
Like, so to me, like sometimes what most people will take as failure, sometimes I take as like, okay, that was meant to be in my path, right? So it's not, I don't think of it the same way as like,
Mm,
oh, wow, that was a huge loss. Like,
yeah.
and I guess I'm not competitive in that way. Like I'll even think like sometimes, we'll talk about a major account that left or something, and we're like, but you know what? There was things with that account that they were going in, things that weren't comfortable for us for certain reasons. They didn't align with our values, right? Or so
Right.
even if they were a big account and a lot of money, that just opens the doors and we've had like all sorts of great new accounts coming in that are completely aligned with how we do business, how they run their business is similar to how we run our business. We appreciate each other's organizations. Like it's just the right thing.
Yeah.
So.
And what you're
Anyway.
describing, Lisa, is a growth mindset.
Hmm.
And to be honest, this was kind of a trick question because I too don't really believe in the concept of failing.
Hmm.
I'm a huge believer that life happens for you, not
Hmm.
to you
Hmm.
or at you.
Yeah,
And so if you have that mindset that this is for me, even if it's painful and sticky and uncomfortable, at some point, if you can just have that mindset of like, there's a reason that this is happening and I may not be able to see it at this very moment, but if I continue to look, I will see the reasons that this happened for me to then jump off of this platform into something great.
absolutely.
And I try
Uh,
to teach my team that because I'm like, look, first of all, I mean, maybe your business is slightly different because it is a lot more like life, protecting and things, but
yeah.
marketing, I say to my team all the time, there is no beating organ on ice chips in a cooler, okay? We are not heart surgeons. This is not life or death. And therefore, you should not take everything that happens so incredibly seriously. You should care. You should
Mhm.
have passion. You should have integrity. You should have a
Mhm.
growth mindset. But growth mindset doesn't mean perfection.
Right. Yeah, you just do the right thing, right? Like just do your best. We do a lot of training around what that right thing is, but I think that's funny because I find the older I get, the more I've seen how a growth mindset has proven to be beneficial
Mm.
and correct, right? So many times that woe is me thing, and if you can go into it with the like, okay, I wasn't expecting this, but what is this trying to tell me, or why is this pushing me in a different direction? And whether it's the fact that I had to network when I was terrified and crying to now like my life is so rich, right? Like getting out of those comfort zones or being put in situations where you were like, or starting a business from scratch where you're like, oh, all right, if we don't get sales, we're gonna run out of money, right? Like, how do
Mhm.
we do that, right? Like, and you figure it out, and it's meant to be, and so I think I've seen time and time again people who have that mindset and have that way of seeing the opportunities
Mhm.
have continually get new opportunities and new great connections and
Yep.
amazing things that happen. So when you see something happen over and over again, you can't help but believe it.
Yeah. My husband and I started doing this. We aim for daily, nightly. Sometimes we skip it if we're busy, but every night before bed, we say to each other, tell me one good thing that happened to you today. So even if you had an absolute like dumpster fire of a day, there's
Mhm.
still something good that happened, And then
Mhm.
like what's the saying? Not every day is a good day, but there's good in every day. Um,
Yes, I love
and
that.
that has totally honestly shifted my own perception of my days because it is so much easier, especially as an entrepreneur or a person in a leadership role, to let things fester. Like, man, should I have approached that conversation with that employee differently, or did I
Mhm.
handle that correctly with the client, or should I have probably sold that differently, or maybe I should have charged more. Should I have charged less? I'm
Right.
constantly thinking and overthinking. And so to take myself out of that like questioning mindset and into let me take control of my day, let me take control of my mind, and let me force myself to acknowledge something good that happened.
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, Lisa, I will name one thing and I'll be like, oh, but then also, and now here I am at three, four, five good things. Whereas
Right.
an hour before that, I'm like, not my best.
Yeah. It's a great attitude and a great skill, right? It's so important.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
mentioned that you're teaching entrepreneurship at UNH, which is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
A, how are you balancing it? And B, what motivated you to jump into this role?
Great question. So balance isn't about balance. It's just about prioritization, right? So
Mhm.
like, yeah, today I'm feeling a little like, okay, it's grading season. So, and there's a lot going on at the agency and the holidays. And so I'm a little drinking from the fire hose today, but again, been around long enough to know that like this too will pass, right? Like I'll survive it like I've done 100 other times and I'll just figure it out. I always do, right? So having that mindset of like, all right, it'll get done. I don't know how, but it will. Combine that with having an amazing team at Keslar, right? With my husband, who's a rock star, right? So
Yeah.
that makes it easier. Um, and my kids are grown, so they're doing their thing, right? So I'm not like shuttling kids around anymore, making
Yeah.
big dinners or any of that.
Yeah.
But I also find that it's a nice balance for me mentally,
Mm.
is giving back to these students. I've always been passionate about small business and passionate about entrepreneurship. That was my degrees as an undergrad. Like,
Mm.
so it's again about creating value for others, and it's a way for me to sort of give back in a way,
Yeah.
where I'm working with these young people who are just so smart and interesting, and getting them excited to believe that they can do it when they're ready. Right. That's my whole goal, is that when they graduate, maybe they came into the entrepreneurship program and they're like, oh, I don't know, I'm not there yet, to be like, you know what? When I'm ready, I can do this.
Yeah.
I've heard from a million people who've done it. I know what the skills are. I know that there's resources for me. I can do, I can do that anywhere, or I can be really entrepreneurial in a company, and I can celebrate my curiosity and my innovative spirit, and do that for someone else. And that's cool too, right? So, and I find it's funny, like it benefits both parts of my life. Like my real world and Kessler stuff allows me to bring in some really great speakers and share my work experience, and working at tech startups and raising funds and talking about all my stuff I've done is great with the students. And then the students will make me realize things, and I'll go back and be like, you know what? I should be thinking more. Like sometimes you get so caught in the weeds in your day job, right? That I was like, you know what? I need to step back and think strategically, because I'm telling my kids to do it. I got to do it, right? Like, so it's actually a benefit both ways.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun. Oh my God,
I
it's
love
so
that you're
fun.
doing that. Part of me is like, I want to do that. And the other part of me is like, I don't know the last time I like got up from my chair.
Yeah,
But I think what's incredible and a good goal as any entrepreneur, and you know this, it is very easy to stay in the chair all day.
yeah.
Very easy. But that's not contributing to a growth mindset overall. That's
Hmm.
just still staying kind of in one silo. And so my big goal, looking into 2025 and beyond, is giving back in a way that is meaningful and actionable. Like
Hmm.
it's one thing to just kind of to go, jump into a charitable initiative. That's still really important and needed. But to me, it's like, what part of this is actually measurable?
Hmm.
Am I raising money? Am I making changes? Am I following up with the people I'm working with to ensure that their lives are improving because of my existence or involvement? And so I'm trying to also evaluate things in my own life of if I'm going to do something, A, I need to do it well, and I'm not going to half-ass it. I need to be whole-assing everything. And B, I want to make sure that I'm actually leaving a lasting impact and not just doing it because it's going to make me feel good. And so I love that you're doing what you're doing, and you're taking feedback from these young people, and you're making a difference in their lives. I think that's really incredible.
I feel like I do make a difference with these students, and if they ever give me the feedback that I'm not, then that's my sign, right, to go do something else.
Yeah.
But I think your point about knowing where you create the most value. So I've had the honor of serving on nonprofit boards over the past few years, and I learned from the very beginning there were boards that I said no to because I wasn't the right person for the seat at
Mm.
that time. They needed a different skill set, or um, for whatever reason, there was one board, I was, they weren't quite ready for the things I would have pushed them into, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, they'd hate me. And then there's other times where maybe I'm not aligned with the ability to spend as much time as they need,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
To your point of sort of finding out what makes the most sense when, and
Yeah.
sometimes the answer is not now, and that's okay, right? And the
Yeah.
answer is I can do this, but not that.
Yeah.
I can do a project, I can do a little lift, I can share, I can introduce, or maybe I can't be on a board, or maybe, or, those kinds of decisions, I think are really important to make. I think it's great to be open to opportunities, but the word no is also completely fine.
Mm. On that really powerful note, I'm going to wrap up this podcast. This has been amazing, Lisa. As always, I love chatting with you.
Oh,
I
we're
admire
so
everything.
aligned. It's so fun.
Yeah, it is really fun. I appreciate everything you're doing, and how you've lifted me
Thank
up
you.
in my business. And for everyone watching, please check out Lisa Keslar. Follow Keslar Insurance Agency on LinkedIn. Reach out to her. If you know a
Mhm.
small business that might need something that they can offer, please refer them over. Let's continue to build this very supportive network. Lisa, thank you so much. It was a real joy chatting with you again.
Always a pleasure. Love it. Thanks for the opportunity.
Of course. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye.